being transferred to the Free State High Court on this particular issue of the fraud and corruption charges relating to the over 250 million rands asbestos case. We do know that those who are charged and the new charged who were brought into the charge sheet, the three individuals and the former advisor to legal advisor to the former Premier of the Free State, Ace Magashule, is also in the dock now. They will all be out on bail with all the other accused, and they will return to the Free State High Court. We are waiting for them to walk out of the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court any time from now. We also do know that where our colleagues Abongile Dumako and Palisa are at, Ace Magashule will be addressing his supporters at that particular venue. We did pose the question to ANC spokesperson Mpule Mabe on the issues of this gathering breaking the Disaster Management Act regulations imposed by the government of the day to try and avert the super spreader of events of COVID-19. They are saying that Magashule will just pass by and greet. We've seen a number of leaders of the ANC who've come out to support the Secretary General, such as Dakota Lekhwete, Batabile Dlamini, Mzwandile Masina, Supra Muhammapilo, who's also here in Bloemfontein. We've seen Sam Mashinini, who's inside court, the provincial chairperson of Free State, who is inside court. Our colleague Aphumelele Mdlalane has just come out of court now and was sitting in within those proceedings. I'm going to bring in Aphumelele just to answer a few questions. Aphumelele, just a brief summary of what took place inside court, and when is the next court appearance of the co-accused, and where do they go from here?
Actually, Samkele, the next appearance now will be in the High Court. That will be 11 August. We know that there were 3 arrests that were effected yesterday, and those people have been out on 50,000 rand bail. However, the accused number 1, which is Ntimo Simukhesi, didn't come through to court. Otherwise, all other accused were in court, and he apparently has been issued a warrant of arrest.
What do you then make of the issues of the gathering that's currently taking place when you speak of how COVID-19 regulations have to be adhered to and how there was minimal space for those who are supporting all the co-accused to be inside court? The SG of the ANC only had 2 supporters, which is Posane and Dakota and Pule Mabe inside court.
Samkele, all I can mention is that it was quite difficult, of course, to be inside court. Even us as media, it was quite a struggle, but we managed to be inside, even though they reiterated the issue of COVID-19 regulations. However, we managed to get through in court, even though you did mention that the ACE supporters were just a few.
We have to cut you short there, Aphumelele, as we move closer to the SG of the ANC and Pule Mabe, who are about to address the media post this particular court appearance.
No.
Yes, Leo, can you take us now? He's here.
Okay, members of the media, we just concluded the appearance. The case has been postponed to the 11th of August this year, but it will be moving to the High Court. SG, you might want to just take a bite, and I'm sure that we're not going to be doing a long address to the media, just to confirm to them that the case is now moving to the High Court. The SG has been quite cooperative with the processes, something that he has even indicated when the case began.
Yeah, I'm sure you have outlined the fact that the case is postponed now to a High Court. We hope for a speedy trial, because justice delayed, it's something else. So we are looking forward to the 11th of August.
Actually, why are you so confident that the MK has got nothing on you, saying that they can bring whatever they have on you, saying you're ready to take them on?
Come again?
Why are you so confident that you've done nothing wrong and that the MK has
Of course, I've done nothing wrong. I'll prove in court.
So in the meantime then, since this is only coming back in August, from the political side then, are you comfortable with this delay? I know you obviously have to follow what the courts do, but this obviously means then this may have political implications for you, since the NEC is still finalizing the step-aside guideline.
Well, there is the legal part and the political part. Let's leave it there. I think the ANC is dealing with the political part, but I'm happy with the legal part. And I hope that this matter will be finalized very soon.
Mr. Magashule, from the SABC here, on the issues of the political gathering that's currently taking place at the park here, are you going to be cautioning your supporters to stop breaking the Disaster Management Act regulations that have been put by government that prohibits political gatherings because there's a pandemic, a virus that's currently taking place through the coronavirus?
I don't know who we are talking about. I'm here, I don't see people here.
Okay.
So, but we always encourage people to respect the regulations and all that, to wear their mask and sanitize, and keep social distance.
Mr. Magashule, do these charges exacerbate the political tensions within the governing party? There are those who feel as if you are being persecuted alongside former President Jacob Zuma by the current administration led by President Ramaphosa.
Well, I don't know. Out there, you know what is happening. As journalists, as the public, and as I say, we'll prove our innocence in a court of law.
Can I just deal with that as well? The SG is part of a collective. It's very important that at all times, yourselves in the media work to also contribute to the unity of the African National Congress. The SG was part of the last National Executive Committee. He had issued a statement conveying decisions of the National Executive Committee. He has pleaded with yourself over and over again that you allow the legal process that is currently being undertaken to follow through. And when that process is done, the SG will be able to speak. He is calling for a speedy trial so that you could be able to do his work without any haste. I think that must be the understanding. We're not going to be taking a lot of questions here. The SG will want to
allow them to ask whatever question.
Are you going to go address your supporters now? The ones that may be contravening the COVID-19 regulations?
Well, I don't see anybody here. My car is parked down there, so I'll walk down and yeah.
So, Mr. Magashule, we can take it that you are not going to be addressing anyone and you are not going to be disregarding the regulations put in place by government as the CEO of the ANC.
I will never disregard the regulations.
So you're not going to be addressing any crowd today?
I won't disregard the regulations.
Well, that was Elias Sikhobela Magashule, the SG of the ANC, saying he's not.
To my home province.
That was Magashule saying that he welcomes us to his province, and he's not saying that he's not going to be addressing anyone. As you can see him walking out of court on this particular matter that has been postponed. We expect him to go out to one of the parks to go and address the supporters here in the Free State who've come out to support the SG. You did see him inside court with Pulema, the ANC spokesperson, and his friend Posane alongside the provincial chairperson of the Free State. That would be the Samashinini, the provincial chairperson of the Free State province. I'm going to bring in Sipho Ngwema, the spokesperson of the South African National Prosecuting Authority, on the postponement on this particular matter. Mr. Ngwema, just on the issues of the postponement and as the NPA, how far are you with the preparedness of this particular case which now moves to the Free State High Court?
Samkela would have loved to have the trial in May. Unfortunately, the defense can only be available on the 11th of August. Otherwise, we are ready. The investigation is done. Massive work has been done by all the agencies, SIU, the Hawks, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions here in Free State, and also the Special Special Crimes Court Unit. So they've done phenomenal work. They've done this in 2 years. We are very ready in terms of what has to happen now. As I said to you, we would have loved to have the trial earlier, but unfortunately we can only have the pre-trial date in August.
Let me bring in my co-Apumela Mdlalane to ask a few questions if she's got any.
Thank you so much, Samkele. Mr. Ngwema, I did hear inside there, they were talking about Team Mukhesi, accused number one that, of course, is hospitalized and brought forward a medical certificate. But I want to understand the issue of warrant arrest.
No, it's a normal court procedure. When an accused who's out on bail hasn't made it to court, and then a warrant is issued pending the attendance of that person in the next appearance. So there's nothing amiss there. That warrant will only be executed if there are no sensible reason that the court accepts. But for now, the medical certificate was submitted. We understand that the accused is not well, so we are hoping he gets well, but also hoping that he will be with us in the next appearance in August.
And we also heard the state talking about a representative for the Diamond Hill trading.
There's one of the companies that is being accused. You must remember, we have 11 accused persons, and the other 5 are companies. So Diamond Hill is one of the companies that is accused. I think it's accused number 5 or something to that effect. But it's one of the companies that is accused that is central in some of the criminal activities that took place in the asbestos matter.
Mr. Ngoma, can you just take us through the three who've just been added who are now co-accused on this particular matter, particularly around the former legal advisor to the former SG or the former premier of the Free State Province? What are the charges of these particular 3 that have been added to the charge sheet?
Of course, you know that we have got more than 70 counts of corruption, fraud, money laundering, and 2 of those, one of them was a CFO in the Human Settlement Department. The other one is an engineer, chief engineer there. The third person is a legal head in the office of the Premier. And as you know, that contracts were centralized in Free State, and they had to go through that office, through the office of the legal advisor, in terms of sanctioning those contracts. And you know that the allegation we have made is that this contract was irregular, it was illegal, and it shouldn't have gone past through that office, and know that as well that there's gratification that flowed to that office. So this is why we have added those 3, because they are central in terms of the allegations that we are making against the accused.
Quite a number of handful of state witnesses there we saw, but we want to understand that they are from the different companies. If you can just link us through.
Undoubtedly, we have got more than 40 state witnesses. One of them, you would know, is in the United States of America. She used to work in the office of the Premier. So we are intending, if certain issues are not common cause, that the bulk of them will come out. Of course, if certain things become common cause, we may not have to ask all of them to come. But we are ready. As I said, the investigation is done. We are happy with the phenomenal work that has been done by the various agencies. And as I said, we wanted the trial to take place as soon as possible. In fact, we're suggesting May. Unfortunately, we couldn't force it on the defense. They are only available in August. So we'll wait for August, and hopefully from there we'll be able to start with the trial in earnest.
But whether there are issues that it should be in August instead of earlier?
The issue is that their legal representatives, some of the accused, are not available until August. So in order for them to have a fair trial, to have a legal representative of their choice, and to be able to defend themselves against the allegations, it is only fair to agree that we can have this in August so that they can have a legal representative of their choice.
Mr. Ngoma, the last one on my part, on the issues relating to the additional charges which you may have spoken about to my colleague Aphumelele in the morning that you may add against accused number 13, Ace Magashule. Were any additional charges added to him, or if not, why not?
We have expanded a number of allegations in terms of accused number 13, which is the former Premier, and you will see in the indictment we detail in terms of the activities that that took place that were illegal. I know that some of the criticism or some of the defense in the public space is that the allegations have to do with issues of oversight. No, the allegations are largely money laundering and corruption, and you will see that we detail those allegations, and we hope that he's going to be able to defend himself on those allegations. As I said, there are people in his office. One of the witnesses is someone who was in that office who's able to then testify on behalf of the state. So yes, we have expanded in terms of his allegations between the last time we were here and now.
Is Mr. Magashule facing fraud, corruption and money laundering charges? Can you be specific on the charges he's facing, because there's confusion on that particular matter?
You will see in the indictment money laundering, corruption in the main, and fraud.
Thank you very much, Sipho Ngwema, the spokesperson of the National Prosecuting Authority. I'm going to bring in my colleague Aphumelele Mdlalane for the very last time before we go to the political festivities where in the park where ANC leaders are going to be addressing. Aphumelele, just to wrap this discussion up, you were inside court. How do you see this particular matter playing out going towards the trial later on in August this year?
As we heard from the NPA, they did mention that it's quite a big case, hence it's being transferred now to the High Court, saying that they are ready, of course, for the trial. And given the fact that they have more than 40 state witnesses, they are quite confident that they have a watertight case. I would say that the mood... I wouldn't really say that people were happy inside court. You'd see that there was just a bad mood, but all I can say is that the state is quite confident that it has a watertight case, knowing that also just yesterday 3 more were arrested with their investigations, of course. It's just this issue of the accused, number one, Ntimosi Mukhesi, whereby we understand that he is hospitalized. He did provide medical certificate, but there's an issue of a warrant of arrest. We hear from Sipongwema saying that that's just a procedure. He has to appear by 11 August when this matter is taken to the High Court for trial.
When you look at the issues of particularly surrounding the former Premier of the Free State, and you've covered a lot of cases, particularly at the Supreme Court of Appeal and the High Court and the Magistrates Court here in the Free State, how would you characterize the state's strength of this particular case? Is it watertight? Is it lukewarm? Many people are also confused on what are the actual charges against Mr. Magashule.
I'd say this is a watertight case, given that on the indictment we saw that he has been involved, because by then, when this tender was out in 2014, we know that he was still the Premier of the Free State, and did also announce on the State of the Province address that indeed this asbestos case tender is out, and the people, supposedly now the victims, the people of the Free State will, of course, the asbestos will be eradicated in favor of a good roofing. But also, when I went through the indictment, I did also notice that the Auditor General did give out the report where they did mention that there were irregularities in terms of procurement of this tender. We're talking about 255 million rand here, Samgele Maseko, about fraud, corruption, money laundering. And when you go through this indictment, you would see that there's just many people involved, and also the businessman Edward Sodi. We know that he's also the one of the accused, and is also appearing on the transactions of these millions going in and out. Thank you very much, Aphumelela Mjalane. She will be following this particular court case inside court and facing those particular legal battles there, and reporting for the South African Broadcasting Corporation. From here at the Magistrates Court, it's over to the Festival of Politics, and we'll certainly bring it as the SABC team. All 4 of us will be there for the politics of the day.
All right, Samkele as well as Aphumelela, appreciate the reporting. So just to sum up there, you heard from Ace Magashule, the ANC Secretary General there, saying that he's hoping for a speedy trial, saying he has done nothing wrong, and which he will prove, as according to him, he will prove in court. Just to sum it up, so they are now 16 accused. 3 more were added this morning. And you heard from the NPA spokesperson there saying that they are central in the allegations the state is making against the accused. So it was their first appearance. So it was a bail application for them. The state said it was in the interest of justice to release them on bail. The magistrate granting bail of 50,000 rand each. Let's check in with our colleague Abungile Dumako, live for us, just a stone throw away from where Aphumelela and Samkele are. What are you seeing there, Abungile? Reaction to what has transpired in court?
A stone throw away indeed from the Magistrates Court here in Bloemfontein. A stone throw away as well from the provincial legislature of the Free State. A stone throw away to the Supreme Court of Appeal here in Bloemfontein. A park that is filled with thousands of ANC members who are out to support Secretary General Ace Magashule. Program already underway. The SG of the ANC expected to make his way here and address these thousands of supporters who've raised the sun and decided to come and show their support for their Secretary General. Not only the ANC leaders, the MK-MVA leadership that is seemingly behind Ace Magashule, but the ordinary members of the ANC on the ground have come out in number from all provinces in the country, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, Eastern Cape, you name it. We'll try and speak to a few of them, a blend that we've seen gathering here, to get a sense as to why was it important for them to come and actually rather support Ace Magashule. Also, thanks for Nagoya How. Who would talk for when I would support Ace Magashule?
Kubaluleke kakhulu because uAC uyinkokheli and manje into ekhona esemqoka ukuthi umuntu kumele ajudge athole icala makase ilokhu njani inkantolo yiyo kumele imjudge hayi ukuthi thina bathi sikhulume njalo sikhulume indaba eziningi okwamanje sizomsupporta all the way until the last day icourt izojudge ukuthi icala unalo.
And for when I'm fair to still go to Sugapi and why decided to come here and Ace Magashule as a court?
My name is Tato Mutapi. I'm from around here, Bloemfontein, in Mangaung, phase 3 Ward 12. So the reason why I came here is that I'm an AC member, a loyal AC member. So the problem is, in our ANC, it's been a while more nice as the National Executive Committee. So we let Ace Magashule, then he's the first in our province representing the National Executive Committee. So we are very happy. Can't tell you that you get at here, Mr. Magashule is the one since we supporter from Intellectual today.
Okay, thank you so much. Those are some of the views that we are getting here, playing with people, especially young people wanting to come and talk about Ace Magashule. And that's good you can talk to us now. You are here still. The main reason behind you coming here namhlanje.
Ngilana ngokuzosupporta Ace Magashule njengoba bambeka amacala ukuthi akanacala until they prove herself is not guilty.
Well, there you have it, playing a lot of support coming out here at this park, which I just said is just around the corner from the provincial legislature of the Free State. People, yes, young people from all walks of life, saying that in fact we are going to support him till the end. This young chap we spoke just recently to him, just now to him, saying that Ace Magashule is the first person to represent them at a national level of the ANC, is now a member of the National Executive Committee of the party. So it is for those reasons and many that they've decided to come and support Ace Magashule. And the lady we just spoke to now, that's one says he's not guilty until proven otherwise, and therefore he could do with the support from them as the ANC members on the ground. As I've said earlier on playing, we are expecting Ace Magashule to come here and join these supporters here and actually address them. He did quite say a lot during his last appearance as he addressed his supporters outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, waiting anticipation. What will he say today regarding the fact that there's a resolution that is being discussed, guidelines being given by the National Executive Committee of the ANC as to this is how it should be approached when a leader or a member of the party is involved in any wrongdoing in terms of corruption, should consider stepping aside. I've heard him speak to our colleagues by the court, Sambiele Maseko, saying that in fact that's the issue that the ANC is dealing with. Wait and see how is he going to address these supporters here. Play.
All right, Abungile Dumako live for us there. Stand by, sir. We'll come back to you shortly. Let's bring in Palesa Moeti, who's in the area as well, monitoring the scenes outside court. Palesa, a very good morning to you. We do apologize. Earlier on we were talking to you and your feed cut off. Just remind us about what happened there. What was the conversation all about and what transpired?
Well, at that particular moment, we had one of the ANC members who was just passing by, and he actually wanted to raise an issue with the SABC. At that point, he was saying that the SABC is biased in its reporting. He mentioned an interview done by one of our colleagues where the ANC chairperson in the Free State, Semashini, got cut off. And his interpretation of that situation was us as the SABC being biased and not wanting to listen to other views that he believes we're not comfortable with. However, what I would like to say is that, with live broadcast, technical issues are just part and parcel of the process. Similar to, how we got cut off, there was an audio issue with that interview that he raised issues with. But, I would just like to say that it was not a deliberate action by the SABC. It was definitely not human error. Normally, technical problems are part and parcel of a live broadcast. We've experienced that already today, like you've said, Blaine. But right now, I just want to mention that we are at a park here, just close to the court. This is where the ANC Secretary General and other ANC members are expected to come and start addressing, rather ANC leaders. They will be addressing members that have come here today in support of the SG and obviously the former mayor of Mangaung Metro, also former MEC of Kokta here in the Free State. They will be obviously addressing supporters, meaning leadership will be addressing supporters as soon as the court proceedings, are finished. But to talk to us right now is the ANC chief whip in the Free State, Mr. Chabalala. Mr. Chabalala, from what we've heard so far, while you and other leaders have been speaking on the podium, you believe that what's happening in the court is a political battle playing out in court.
Well, we have seen this thing, we have seen it, and we are still seeing it today. This happened with President Jacob Zuma when we were going to Polokwane in 2007. The Scorpion were used to attack and to play the role of politics. Even today, the same hawks are being used to attack leaders of the ANC, and they are used, and they don't get any cases. And this is why we are calling for the NGC as the ANC to decide, as branches of the ANC, what we want to see happening in the ANC. We are not happy. Courts are being used, judges are being bought. We know, we got this information. At the right time, we will definitely come and talk. That is why we are calling for a new constitution. We are calling for ordinary masses of our people, the youth out there, to come and vote so that we are able to change the constitution of this country. We are sick, we are tired as members of the ANC. We are saying we are not promoting corruption. As members of the ANC, anybody who is found guilty, that the law must take its course. But now people have been purged. People have been purged. I'm one person who was the mayor, and they said to me, I was once corrupt. Even today, the Hawks can't prove that case. They are still investigating us. That is why we will stand up and rise and defend the organization, because the ANC does not have anything wrong that the ANC can do. Sometimes it's us leaders who are wrong.
How do you think the ANC is going to be able to convince the electorate to vote for it if there are so many battles internally within the ANC?
Well, the battles are just being caused by the minority within the ANC. There are few people who are calling themselves the ANC. The ANC is a broad church. The ANC is a big elephant. That is why you must understand in any structure, even in the structure of the ANC, we follow the processes of the organization. If you are a member of the ANC, if you are not satisfied, there are processes that are true within the process of the ANC. What we see today, members of the ANC going to court, using the court to fight the battles of the ANC, it's foreign to us. It's foreign to us.
And what are you going to do about that then?
Well, as a member of the branch, and I know I'm going to be the delegate for National General Council, I will express the view of the branch. And my branch today is sick and tired of what is happening. And the ANC is being sold in the highest bid. The Western countries want to govern our place. This is our town. This is our country. Africa is our home.
Who is selling the ANC?
Well, we'll come to that space. Look, I can't use media to say anything, but we'll raise these matters at the right time. We are here to support the Secretary General of the ANC, Meoli, as the member or the chairperson of the Women's League in the province, to say enough is enough of this Chapter 9, Chapter 10 institutions that have been used to attack members of the ANC.
So, how do you suggest recommendations by Chapter 9 institutions ought to be implemented?
Well, we have seen what is happening today. The public protector is under attack. But previously, Tulima Donsela has never been attacked. Tulima Donsela has always been a public protector whom everybody respected. But today, the current public protector, Busisiwe, is not being respected. We see the outcomes of court. That is why we are calling for total change of the constitution. And the only time we can change the constitution is for us as the youth of today, like the 1976 youth that stood up and fought the Bantu education. We will stand up and fight as the youth of today.
What do you hope to hear from the leadership that will be coming out of court today?
Well, comrades are here to support the leadership. We are going to support Msholozi. I will still be in Peter Marisbeck. We will support every leader of the ANC and we will ensure that leaders are... We are members of the ANC in good standing. We don't buy membership like other leaders who buy membership to be elected. So in the NGC, at the right time, we will speak about all these issues.
Thank you very much. That is the Chief Whip of the ANC here in the Free State, Vusi Chabalala, making it very clear that there are some serious division within the party, but saying that those will be dealt with at the NGC level. With that, back to you in studio.
All right, Palesa Moeti, live for us there. Thank you very much indeed. No doubt we have a lot of eyes on the story. Very soon we're going to bring in our political editor here at the SABC, Mzwandile Mbeche, to get his take on the matters. But just to give you some summation of what transpired so far. So in total now, we know that there are 16 accused. 3 more were added this morning. And you heard from the NPA saying that this is crucial to their case in terms of the allegations that they are putting forward. Those 3 have been granted bail of 50,000 rand each at the Magistrates Court. The update, the breaking news that we did report on earlier on is that it will now be moved. This case will now move from the Magistrates Court to the Free State High Court. These are live visuals, by the way. The new date for pre-trial is the 11th of August. We heard the NPA saying that they would have loved to have this case, this trial, in May. But we heard from the state a little earlier on saying that it was the only date that suits all the legal stakeholders and legal representatives as well. This matter, as you know, relates to the awarding of a more than 250 million rand Free State asbestos roofing contract. Just to remind you about what Ace Magashule, the Secretary General of the ANC, said on the steps of the Magistrates Court. You heard him engaging with our reporter Samkele Maseko, saying that he's hoping for a speedy trial, saying that he has done nothing wrong, which he will prove in court. And we also heard that, he looked confident in terms of this case. What is our political editor's read on this matter? Let me bring in Mzwandile Mbeche, live for us in studio. Mzwai, a very good morning to you. Do we have Mzwai on the line?
The viewers.
All right, Mzwandile Mbeche, our political editor, live for us in studio. Look, as I was saying, we have a number of eyes on this story in every angle, a phalanx of cameras reporting on this. So as soon as anything happens, they will take you back to the Free State. But from your vantage point, Mzwai, you heard the Secretary General Ace Magashule saying that he hopes for a speedy trial. He's ready for anything. What's your read on the events that happened now?
Well, Blaine, this is quite interesting. When you look at what is happening currently, basically there are 2 processes underway right now. You have a legal process and a political process that is really unfolding. Yes, the legal process is now taking its shape, and of course we know that the pre-trial, as has been communicated, will start on the 11th of August. But the most significant one is the political process. The fact that you are seeing those number of people there gathered to come and support their Secretary General tells you a very big story about what is to unfold. This year we are set to have the National General Council, which is quite big and which really could give an indication of where we're going with this, because every person that we have spoken to, our reporters have spoken to, they've been basically saying, well, Ace Magashule is not guilty. So they have been basically saying this is being engineered elsewhere to achieve a particular political end. In fact, if you remember what happened last time Magashule appeared, they were even banning the T-shirts of the current president of the ANC. So you can see that the divisions within the ANC are actually deepening. So We are really looking forward to hearing what he has to say when he addresses those supporters. But the battle lines, plain I can tell you now, they are drawn in terms of the political process. Yes, the legal process will take its own shape. I think we had Sibongwema basically saying they are ready. So in fact, they were ready to proceed in May. But the defense obviously asked for some time. So this is interesting, and the parallels are being drawn with the former president Jacob Zuma's situation. So you can see where we're going. In fact, it's going to be very interesting how the ANC will actually adopt those guidelines, the step-aside guidelines, because they relate directly to the Secretary General of the ANC plane.
Look, we'll hear more from Mr. Ace Magashule very shortly in terms of what he will say this time around. We know what he said last time around. I was elected by branches at conference. I will go back to a special conference and branches must say to me, Comrade Ace Magashule, step aside. I will then do so. That was his posture then. How does that play in to what is currently being discussed within the ANC with regards to the step aside issue?
Plain, this battle, you can see, it's now been taken to the branches. It's now been taken to the ground. The fact that that's what he pronounced the last time, the fact that he's addressing generally the ordinary members or the ordinary supporters of the party is telling you that he is basically saying, you bring it on, but these are the people who will decide. In fact, he is holding the office of the Secretary General. It's quite an important office because just about everything comes through that office. That's where everything is done. Everything, the audit and everything relating to the organization is done there. So given that here is the man who has the access to that, it will not be easy for him to simply agree to the step aside because he will deprive himself of all of that. Because he has made it clear that if the branches say I step aside, I will do. As for now, why should I then remove that link between me and the branches? So, as I was saying, Blaine, this is quite interesting. I mean, this is politics at full play. Yeah. And even if you hear some of the people who are saying, I mean, the former mayor there that Palisa spoke to is basically now, you can hear the discussion is shifting towards the constitution. The issue of the judges keep coming up. And they are basically saying, so let's engage on a new political process, and then currently we feel the current people who are in charge may not be doing enough, so that's why they are saying let's then push with these new people. I mean, for example, Ace Magashule is being seen as the supporter of the radical economic transformation agenda. So if he is seen as the supporter of that radical economic agenda, so clearly he is the one who they will forward when the time comes. It will be very interesting, Plain, what will happen at the NGC. In fact, we know the league as well, the youth league, is to hold its conference. So anyone who will be winning there will give you an indication of where this thing is going.
If the ANC NEC confirms, goes ahead with the step-aside resolution, and Mr. Magashule maintains his posture, his position, consequences for the party in the long run, especially ahead of the next election?
Well, basically, if the ANC then pronounces and then instructs, and then but nothing happens, you're creating a precedent that should be very difficult to then avoid. Because if at the highest level people are not to follow what the party says, so why should an ordinary member do that? So I think the ANC will need to do a lot of introspection. It normally puts very good ideas. It's very idealistic in how it wants to do things. But when it comes to action, it tends to fall short. So let's see this guideline. Let's see where this thing takes us. Let's see how the general membership responds. But I can tell you now, Blaine, it's going to be contested. That guideline issue, it's not going to be an easy walk. It's not going to be a walk in the park, because some people will want the branches to get involved. And you know how they say it in the ANC, the branch is the most important element in the party. So if the branches decide, and I can hear perhaps other people even calling for a special conference to try and resolve this thing. But the NGC, for me, will really set the tone of what is to happen.
From what you're hearing, the temperature of views on the ground, a special conference, is that even plausible?
Well, depending on if the majority of the branches in terms of the constitution were to suggest that it would be held, of course it will have to be. But believe it or not, Blaine, next year the ANC goes to an elective conference. So that's what I'm saying. You look at what the NGC is going to say, it will basically give you an indication of where we're going with this. Right. Because if the NGC insists that this issue needs to be resolved as soon as possible, I think it could be called as soon as December. But of course, if remember, there are other people who may not necessarily share the sentiment. So if those people then feel, well, they still need to wait for the conference, so that will happen. But it will then raise the temperatures even big, because you would see people now contesting to wrestle the ANC in 2022. I mean, I've been seeing some of the posters. They are already saying Magashule 2022. So you know that 2022 is the elective conference of the ANC. Yes, the president of the ANC is elected for one term, but it has become some sort of a tradition that he or she will serve 2 terms. Many people would expect the current president to contest, but if he is being contested, so you'd then see who will contest him. In fact, given what is happening now, they are basically laying the ground for contesting him.
No doubt, Mzwai, that you have your ears close to the ground, even from here in Auckland Park, in terms of what's happening in KwaZulu-Natal, in terms of Nkandla. We saw the Bheki Cele visiting with the former president, Jacob Zuma. What are you hearing with regards to the possible agenda of that meeting, that visit?
Well, Blaine, you'd know that one of the issues really that has been raised, particularly by the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, is that the top 6 of the ANC meet with the former president to try and deal with this issue because it's really paralyzing the country. And I think Minister Bheki Cele or NEC member Bheki Cele going there to Nkandla to meet with former president is basically to find a way of getting them to meet and them to resolve this issue. Because the ANC a couple of days ago issued a statement, the statement basically saying, we urge every member of the ANC to cooperate with the Zondo Commission. We supported the work of the Zondo Commission. So former President Zuma is the member of the ANC. He's been the leader of the ANC. He's actually been the leader of the country. So if their governing party issues a statement of that nature, and then a person who has led the ANC says, I'm not going to Zondo, so they have to find a way. So that is why you would see a number of people going to Nkandla to try and perhaps convince the former president and perhaps make him see in a different way that as much as he may feel in a particular way, but it's important to do right so that ordinary people will be able to also do right.
You know, as you mentioned, with regards to this case, regarding Ace Magashule, you mentioned at the top of this interview is that there's the legal process and then there's the political process. When you look at what's happening with regards to the former president, Jacob Zuma, you can argue that both are happening at the same time as well. Legal process aside, let's look at the politics of this whole matter. What's the feelings? What are analysts telling us with regards to, does the former president put forward a convincing political argument?
Well, Blaine, the fact of the matter is that the former president still commands huge support on the ground. And then you don't want a situation where the country may then slide into chaos, because if the leaders are not able to handle this matter in a very matured way, this has the potential of creating instability. And look at the province, KZN, for example. You and I come from there. We know how volatile that province can be. So you don't want to then start creating a situation where those flames can easily be lit. Yeah. Yes, some people would simply say, look at the legal process and deal with it once and for all. Sure, follow that. But former President Jacob Zuma is not like you and I. As I was saying, he still has a number of supporters. I mean, we've been seeing people going there, expressing their own support. So then find a way of making sure that as much as he has to comply with the legal processes, but of course manage it politically. That's why you saw someone like Begicele go there to say, yes, we understand your frustration. We understand that you don't want Zondo to preside over your matter, or rather to be the chairperson. But the process still has to be respected. And I think that was the key message, perhaps, that Begicele went there to convey, but to basically get perhaps a situation where these could meet and iron out this situation, because at the end of the day, something will have to be done. It can't just be a standoff forever.
Levi Ndau, he's a political analyst, into this conversation with regards to what has transpired this morning. Sir, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Your take, look, you heard, I'm not sure if you heard our political editor there, Nzondile Mbeche, talking about this issue regarding Ace Magashule being a legal process on one hand and a political process on the other hand. Your read on the state of play?
This is, for me, is both political and legal, but primarily this is a legal matter, in the sense that you have got law enforcement agencies in the form of the NPA that says that we have got a case against the Secretary General of the ANC. And if one is to relate this with the case of the former president, these are similar instances wherein both are facing criminal charges in the court of law, but in a way, because they are politicians, they are actually trying their best to bring in politics into this aspect, because they are political leaders and they want to justify or want to present a posture that says that there are certain individuals that are actually behind these criminal activities. But in my view, we need to be able to separate the two. Yeah. Firstly, in South Africa, we are all equal before the law, and all of us must actually follow the prescripts of the law. But also at the same time, the institutions that the ANC has fought for, their establishment, should actually be respected by the same leaders of the ANC. And at the same time, politics and legal processes, there should be a way to separate the two. And in this case, unfortunately, there seem to be the mixture. And I hope the ANC should find ways of trying to provide the separation between the two.
Mm. The law is one thing, but public perception and public opinion sometimes can differ with regards to some of the prescripts of the law. When you look at some of the support that the ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule is getting outside court, what's your read in terms of the temperature of views on the ground? Are his supporters, wanting or interested in the merits of this case? Or do you think it's a foregone conclusion in their minds that Mr. Magashule is being wrongfully persecuted?
I think it's also important to separate between blind support and sympathy. Some might be going there because they are sympathetic that Ace Magashule, who has been their premier, is being held before the courts. And some might be saying that even though we are not interested in the merits of the case, we're just supporting him as an individual. But also at the same time, I always get an emphasis from the other supporters of Ace Magashule who are saying that these cases are politically motivated. And what I find it difficult to get is how then are they politically motivated? Are they motivated by members of the ANC, or are they motivated by the opposition members outside the ANC? But what the sense that I get is that they seem to be saying that the current president is involved in the orchestration of these cases. And if that is the case, you actually require some form of proof. But when it comes to public perceptions, the public perceptions for me says that the ANC is a party that is very much tolerant to corruption. There are some members of the ANC who would love to see the ANC and its leaders continuing with corrupt activities because maybe some of them are the beneficiaries of these corrupt tendencies. Another perception that I draw from this court appearance is that there seemed to be an element of being impatient or an element of trying to disregard the law enforcement agencies, because some part of what I see seem to be an element of intimidating the court proceedings, so that those that are in court or are in charge of these cases should actually be intimidated in order to, at the end of the day, come with an outcome that will be favorable to certain individuals. But another aspect that for me is very important is that factionalism in the ANC is entrenched, and that's why you have got a grouping in the ANC which is called the RET. And this RET force within the ANC, it's known by everybody within the party, and as long as the ANC still recognizes this RET as a force, then it's an entrenchment of these groupings within the ANC, and the ANC has got the RET group and the other RET group. But lastly, the ANC today has got two bigger groups: the group that supports corruption, the group that is fighting against the law enforcement agencies, and you have got another group that is against corruption. And this group is actually saying that let's respect the processes of the law and all people are equal before the law.
Mzwandile Mbeche, jump in on this issue with regards to the temperature of views on the ground from his supporters in terms of listening to the merits of this case. Your take?
Well, at this stage, Blaine, I think you and I, and perhaps the analysts and other people would be interested in hearing perhaps the legalities of the case. But when it comes to the ordinary membership right now, it's clear the battle lines are drawn. And then because the battle lines are drawn, so they have decided they will push it as far as they can. That's why, I mean, I keep referring to the gatherings that are coming, which for us will give us the real picture, the clearer picture as to where we're going with this. But insofar as the legalities are concerned, I think it will be very interesting to hear when the pre-trial begins in August. And we know that too will be accompanied by the political spectacle which has become part and parcel of this. And I think the issue really, Blaine, is that they will push this until I think until the last day, because remember we have examples. We have seen how it happened with the former president Jacob Zuma. So I see this situation taking the similar route, and I see some of the pronouncements and look at some of the people who will be there. It's very, very interesting. In fact, our colleagues were saying Mzwandile Masina will be there. And remember, he had accompanied Julius Malema when they went to have tea with the former president in Kandla. Yeah. So this is basically, I know it's many people would not want to say it, but you can see there's some sort of realignment in terms of our politics within the ruling party.
Yeah.
This is what is happening. It doesn't matter how much they deny it. This is the fact. This is what we are seeing on the ground.
Mr. Ndo, speaking about the so-called tea party or tea meeting, let's get your take with regards to what has been transpiring over the past couple of weeks, or the week. We saw the MKMVA members stationed outside the former president's home in Nkandla. A number of people have visited him, the latest being Bheki Cele. What's your read on what has transpired over this week?
Yeah, well, I want to agree fully with what Mzwandile is saying. There is an element of realignment within the party. But also, the other grouping, the RET forces, are actually regrouping, and they're actually making their intentions very clear, in the sense that they are saying that only 5 years, as Magashule said, after Nasrec, it's only five years, and we're actually going to take over. They are starting by ensuring that actually the opportunity for Ace Magashule to appear now, it's good enough for them to regroup. And coupled with what is happening with former President Zuma now, now they are able to come together and reorganize themselves and prepare for all the other gatherings that are actually coming of the ANC.
All right, it seems that we are having a bit of an issue with the political analyst there, Levi Ndo. Let me bring in Abongile Dumako live for us in the Free State back into this conversation. Abongile, what are you witnessing there now?
Lane, of course, we are still alive at this park which we spoke about earlier on. Currently, the contingent of ANC members is quite big, and it's kind of difficult for them to observe social distancing. As I'm talking to you, Andy Lungisa, all the way from the Eastern Cape, talking to these thousands of people here, appealing to them that, in fact, let's make sure that we observe social distancing, the regulations that are in existence, that are guiding us on how we should behave on COVID-19. I'm not sure if that message is well received currently, as people have been here from the early hours of the morning showing support for Ace Magashule. The very Ace Magashule we've seen being driven around the streets of Bloemfontein in an open top car, greeting his supporters, his homemates, as you would imagine. He's also from this province. Right across the streets of Bloemfontein, we've seen him doing that, driving around. We are expecting him to take to this podium behind me anytime from now. We understand he's arrived at the park. He's going to talk to these hundreds of thousands of ANC supporters, specifically came here to support him. We've seen leadership of the ANC from Mpumalanga, Deputy Secretary General J. Lindiwe Nchali being part of these proceedings that are happening here at this park. I've just said now Andy Lungisa also addressing the crowds here. A lot of people in a lot of happy mood, if you like, jubilation all across, just to show support for Ace Magashule.
Read on the situation there. Give us a sense, Abongile, of how many people are present currently where you are.
Well, it's thousands of people that are here, Blaine. I can attest to that. It's, I would say, 2,000 maximum of the people that are here, all the way from different provinces across the country, saying that they want to actually support Ace Magashule. The crowd that is here, you know, there's a lot of people. I'm going to ask Kwazimanzi, my camera person, to show you an idea of how many people are here. Blaine, you can see for yourself. There's members of the MKMVA here. There's also members of the ANC Women's League. There's members of the ANC Youth League. Young people from all walks of life, you know, coming in numbers to make sure that they are able to, you know, showcase their support for Ace Magashule. This park usually sits people who would be having lunch, who work around, you know, the provincial legislature, which is just a stone throw away from here. Some work at the Supreme Court of Appeals here in Bloemfontein. Now it's packed to capacity by members of the ANC supporting Ace Magashule. I'm sure you can see some are ululating, some are actually showing support to Ace Magashule. This is, of course, Ace Magashule is being waited for to come and talk to these supporters.
So, Abongile, stand by. We're going to come back to you in a short while. Levindo, political analyst, as well as our political editor here at the SABC, Mzondile Mbeche, still with us. Mzwai, I'm not sure if you saw those visuals now. Abongile describes it as thousands that have gathered in terms of showing their support for the Secretary General of the ANC. Your take on the amount of support he's getting today?
Well, in fact, Blaine, that's quite interesting. You know, obviously I can't dictate what's happening, but it will be very interesting to hear what Andile Lungisa, who's on the stage, saying now. Remember, we've been talking about the realignment and about the people who are part of this new agenda, if I may call it that one. That one. So it will really be very interesting to hear Andile Lungisa. It's quite important in this bigger scheme of things. And that kind of support that we are seeing there does tell you that certainly something on the ground is happening.
It's our command. Let's go now. Take in Andile Lungisa and listen to what he has to say. We'll come back to you, so I stand by.